So it's just I tell you what, I felt refreshed. I felt really refreshed, and I think for anyone that's separated or that's retired, they can feel that. But a sense of relief, and I love my military career. And trust me, there were some bumps on the road too, man. I have whole stories I could talk for an hour about, some struggles I had or situations, but tough times in my career. But at the end of it, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love it, but it's just, I can't believe I did that. 23 years, and I feel free.
This is it, man. This is the mindset that people should have. Your life is not over now that you've served for 20 plus years in the military. It is just beginning.
Yeah.
Like the foundation that you built in service, regardless if it's 4 or 25 or anywhere in between, the next great adventure is right now. The fact that you just said you feel like you're 18 or 19 years old again is awesome and incredible, because that is what you should feel like.
Is that much of it? That's not much of a change for you, right?
My name is Kerry Kite. I used to load bombs in the Air Force, and now I'm a writer, a filmmaker, and an entrepreneur. Through using the post 9/11 GI Bill to go to college, working hourly jobs to pay the bills, and freelancing my way into a career, I've studied what it takes to successfully transition from service to civilian, and that study has become a conversation. On this podcast, I speak to other veterans, successful artists, and entrepreneurs about their transition, what they did well, where they failed, what they learned, and most importantly, how they applied their skills.
Episode 161 features Martin Foster, a fellow Air Force veteran, actor, podcaster, and the host of Passing the Torch.
Welcome. This is Veteran Made. Our merch store is live at store.veteranmadeproductions.com. Grab hats, t-shirts, and hoodies in both performance and tri-blend cotton fabrics. Use code VM-5OFF for 5% off your purchase. Veteran Made is also sponsored by GoPills, a military-grade nootropic that contributes to brain health over time. Use code VM15 at checkout for 15% off. I get my collagen protein from Bubs Naturals, where you can use code VETERANMADE, all one word, at checkout for 20% off your order. We're also proud to partner with True Made Foods, which makes condiments free from added sugar and sweetened with real foods. Use code VET at checkout for 15% off.
We love socks in this house. I get my wife new socks every Christmas. More importantly, we love American-grown and made socks. Use code VETERANMADE15 at rucksocks.com for 15% off.
And lastly, I end my day with Rack Out from Bravo Actual to maintain quality sleep, resulting in a well-rested body and mind. Use code VETERANMADE with a space between the words at checkout for 15% off your order. Enjoy the episode.
All right. Well, I don't get to do this very often, but good morning from the great state of Ohio for both of us. Martin Foster, welcome to Veteran Made.
Thank you so much for having me. This is it's the Bad Boys of Ohio. The Bad Boys of Ohio podcasting are together once again.
Yeah, that's right. We were rivals kind of in the podcast awards, but they just randomly kind of put us both in the Air Force category. Although neither one of our podcasts are geared towards the Air Force, we just both kind of served in the Air Force. You're technically still serving in the Air Force. So tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you're at in your service right now, and then we'll jump into some questions about podcasting, media, transition, entrepreneurship, all that good stuff.
Man, so I thanks, Kerry, again for having me on. I was thinking about, I knew you were going to ask this question. I was thinking, how can I summarize myself? Because I don't really do I don't really guest on podcasts a lot. So I never really know what to say about myself or how to summarize a story. But I'll just do the best I can in a few minutes or less. Born and raised in Oklahoma, and I joined because of 9/11 and actually enlisted on September 13th of 2001. But because there were so many people so many people signing up during that time, I didn't leave for basic training until 14 months later, until November of 2002. But before 9/11, and actually between when I enlisted up until 9/11 and before I left for basic, I was working 3 jobs. I was waiting tables, I was working at Radio Shack, and I was delivering, like for Oklahoma, every state has their own state paper. So I was delivering the Oklahoma Daily to, restaurants and stuff at diners at 2 a.m. So I was working 3 jobs, and I did that up until I left for basic training. And I served for 23 years, which is insane to me. It doesn't even seem real. I'm actually on terminal leave. So my terminal leave started, we're recording on September 3rd. It started 2 days ago. My effective retirement date is 1 November. So So I'm still active duty for 60 more days or so, but yeah, it's crazy. My time in the military, I loved it. I met a lot of amazing people. I've had so many cool assignments, and um, but separate from that, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a mentee, I'm a mentor. I have a lot of passions. Acting, I do some acting, which has afforded me the opportunity to meet a lot of cool people, especially veterans who become actors. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, which Carrie, I think you and I have talked about before. before. And last and certainly not least, I'm a podcaster, and I've had Passing the Torch since January of 2018. And at that point, I don't think there was any really Air Force podcasts. If there were Air Force podcasts, it was a unit or organizational podcast. I don't recall too many individuals having a podcast, but yeah, just been podcasting ever since. I love it. It's a way for me to just connect with people, share their stories of people, highlight all the cool things they're doing. And I'm also learning about myself through podcasting. I'm peeling back the onion, different layers, and there's so much I've taken from the guests, like to include you. You were a guest on my podcast. Those lessons learned and applying that to bettering myself. But yeah, that's really the gist of it.
That's been the most fun part for me of podcasting is uh, like what it's done for me. And I don't really care if that sounds selfish, right, or like self-centered, but I mean, I started this as a means to try to figure out and like triangulate where I was in my transition, right? Like I had gotten out in 2010 and I started the podcast in 2021, but had been thinking about it during COVID in 2020. So 10 plus years later, I was still like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Like, how did I do this? Like, how did I, I was working, I had a great job in the industry that I wanted to be working in production and being creative and doing all that. I was like, how did I do this? And COVID popped off and podcasting seemed like a great opportunity for me to have conversations with other people and to learn from them in order to like figure out my own journey, right? Like I'm a verbal processor. I'm a strong writer. Obviously it's part of what I do for a living, but I verbally process things as well. Just ask my wife. She's like, oh my gosh, long-winded much. But having these conversations this way, even remotely, I texted you late last night. It's like, hey, man, you jump on tomorrow and like, let's have a conversation because I've been wanting to talk to you. And I think now's a good time. Like, let's do it. So being able to do it like that that's been like one of the greatest things. And I will say that your podcast in particular is probably the best one that I've been on. I remember I think I had posted something or you had posted something and my stepmom followed me on Instagram and my dad didn't have social media, but, or didn't have Instagram. He had Twitter, but he like called me, I don't know, maybe 2 days after we did it. And he was like, hey man, we were just driving. I just listened to this podcast that you're on. That guy down in Dayton, man, that was really good. Like he's really, really good. I'm like, yeah, he was really, really good at asking questions and interviewing people. And it was great. And so like, it kind of ended up being this kind of fun conversation. And it was funny, where it was a little bit of an ego check for me because I thought he wanted to talk more about me as a guest, but he actually wanted to talk about you more about you as a host, which was kind of fun, which is got to be a great compliment for you. But and I agree with him wholeheartedly. Like your questions, your cadence, the way you ask them, the order in which you ask them, sort of those beats that you put into the cadence of your question asking, I didn't realize probably came from your acting background. I didn't know that you acted at all until I think a few weeks ago when we were chatting offline. So I want to, let's jump all around, but I want to hear a little bit about that. Like what kind of training do you have as an actor and how much does that inform you as you host a podcast?
Okay, I love that question. A couple things before I get into that. First, thank you so much for that compliment, man. That's an ultimate compliment coming from you because you're a podcast that I listen to regularly. And I told my wife last night, I'm actually getting goosebumps right now. I'm like, man, I'm excited to be on Carrie's podcast. Carrie's such a pro. You do such a great job of asking questions as well. And I think I've texted that to you before, just on random episodes. And I know you just did the one with Riley T. Jack. But I mean, again, it's just like you're a student of the game. again, so, and I remember our episode together last year, the intro, I read your intro, and you're like, dude, where'd you get that stuff from? And I got it from like 5 or 6 different sources, and I really do put a lot of heart and soul into my podcast. And it's just the um and for podcasting, again, it's not selfish that you said you're doing it for you, because I do my podcast in addition to helping out other people. I do it for myself too, because it's an outlet and it's therapeutic, even just for my own mental health and emotional health and energy and all that. And again, it's a great connection platform, because if we didn't have podcasts, I feel like I consider you a friend. And and I know, I don't think people realize how much we text or we talk. I think over the past year, we've had conversations on the phone that last an hour. We're just talking about whatever, right? But without podcast, I don't know if we ever would have made that connection. And I think as men in our 30s, men in our 40s, or men who are, transitioned out of the military, it's important to have those connections. So that's why, like, podcasting is so beautiful. It's just a way to build rapport. And Michael Rod Rodriguez, I know, was on your show within the past couple months as well. He was on my podcast earlier this year, and I've talked to him a couple times in person. I saw him at the VFW convention last month. But for him, like, and he's one of my favorite episodes. But man, I'm so inspired every time I talk to him. And if it wasn't for the podcast, I never would have had that opportunity. So again, it's just been so. Jenna Carlton's another person that I talk to pretty regularly, and it's all because of podcasting. But go ahead.
It's like a great way to explore ideas,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? I kind of grew up listening to Rogan, and all the flack that he catches over, and I don't care about the politics or the culture of it at all, but it's an interesting framework to think about, like what he pioneered as a platform to just explore ideas and have conversations, in whichever direction you want to do it, right? Like I focus on creativity and entrepreneurship and media, right? He's all over the place with thousands of different interests, but like as a platform, it just allows us to explore ideas and have conversations. And it's a little bit more than those hour-long conversations that we have on the phone, because there's some stakes. It's being recorded. It's not that like, you need to be or do or say something that you're not, but just those extra stakes of this being recorded and making it a conversation that's going to live in perpetuity gives it that extra oomph, right? For us to say, okay, let's sit down, let's explore these ideas, let's explore this person, let's have this conversation, let's ask these questions, let's wonder and explore and kind of journey together. It sounds a little woo, but at the end of the day, like that's really the feeling that I get.
Yeah, and I know you said earlier, you were kind of making a joke about us being competitors in the podcast awards. I voted for you, but I didn't want to tell you that I voted for you, because I didn't want you to feel like you had to vote for me. But I was so proud, and I voted for you in all the categories that you were in, because your podcast is so good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so I hope you win. All right, so acting. A little bit of backstory. My mom's German, and my dad was in the army. He got stationed in Germany. Met my mom.
That's how it happens.
Yeah, right. They got married. They got married in Germany. My sister was born in Germany. She lived there for until she was 6, and then my dad got stationed and assigned to Oklahoma, Fort Sill, where I was eventually born and raised. My mom was pregnant with me when he moved to Fort Sill, and then my dad separated from the military in the 80s, and that's just where we planted roots, right? So. Like my dad's side of the family, they're all from the Virginia area. My mom's family is all from the obviously Austria and Germany. So growing up in Oklahoma, I never fit in. So like there's a lot of just rural people, just a lot of country. I was listening to hip hop, and I never fit in. But one thing, I didn't fit in, but I always stood out because of my personality, and so I've always had like a passion, and I loved watching movies as a kid, and even now, and even just like deeper and I think that's one of the things that draws me to you, is because I love more than just watching the film. I appreciate the actual director, just the things that go into certain movements. So so I've always had that little bit of a bug for acting or speaking in front of people, large stages and all that. And then my freshman year of college, I forget exactly what happened, but I needed to take one more class in order to be full time. The only class,
Where'd you go to college?
Cameron University in Lawton, Oklahoma. I didn't go for very
Right.
long. And I wasn't the best student, but the theater class was open, and it was the only class that was open. So I ended up taking that class, and one of the final assignments is that you could either write like a 20-page paper or something like that, or you could produce like a 10-minute sketch. So I'm the only person in the class who produced a sketch. It was and it was a big hit. And I actually recruited other members from the class, and it was all inside jokes from within the class that was incorporated into the script. And we performed in front of our class. And again, it went over really well. And I just remember the rush that I got from that. So I didn't really do anything after that. And then, fast forward, I joined the military, November 2002. And then in 2000 so I did 2 different deployments. I moved to Ohio in 2012. And in 2013, after I came back from my first deployment, that's really when I'm sorry, before that I was in California at Vandenberg, which is like 2 hours from LA, 3 hours. So I used to go down to LA all the time because the base would get emails about come be on The Price is Right or come be on whatever game, let's make a deal. So I would go down to those casting calls all the time, and I just got hooked. And then I came to Ohio, and this is actually my second time being stationed here. The last time I was stationed here, there was a ton of things being filmed out here. So I got cast in a couple movies the last time I was here. One was The Funhouse Massacre, which stars Robert Englund, who's most famously known as Freddy Krueger. So I got to meet him, and I just loved it. Like it was really cool. And I also started doing improv at that theater in downtown Dayton the last time I was here. And upon the completion of that class, we did a show. And there was probably like 100 people that were in attendance for that show. So again, just loved it. And, the CW, and also the CW network has like their local CW affiliates. So there's a Columbus CW and there's a Dayton CW. Well, Dayton CW had a Dayton CW Star Contest. So I applied for it. I think there was like 300 something people that applied. I was like in the final 2 or 3, and it was basically the end prize was to be like the host of or in some capacity entertainment on air personality. So did that, and then moved to Hawaii, and that's really when things kicked up big time. So while I was in Hawaii, I mean, there's so many things filmed out there. I was in Hawaii 5-0 like 10 times. I got used so much in 5-0, they had to stop. They would want me to like take a year or 2 gap between seasons because I wouldn't just be a background extra. I'd have speaking roles, or I'd be a featured extra. As a matter of fact, last year at the Military Influencer Conference, Jennifer Marshall was the MC, and as they're announcing her, they're playing this reel of her highlight reel of all her acting roles, and one of them was Hawaii 5-0. And she's speaking. I'm in that scene with her, like, and no one acknowledges me. Everyone just pays attention to Jennifer Marshall, but I'm like, that's me, guys. I'm the one she's talking to. Did improv when I was out in Hawaii. I took like 3 or 4 different like boot camps, like 4-month courses. Kimmy Balamera, I think's her last name. She was also in Hawaii 5-0. She's the one who taught that improv class. So did a bunch of that. And actually, let me backtrack again. When I was deployed, and if I'm rambling, Carrie, just let me know, man, if I'm talking too much. But
You're good. I'm like, I am curious how it. Sorry for those watching on YouTube, as you see me dip in the frame. It's because I've got my 7-week-old down here hanging out for her first podcast, which she's excited about. Hence why I have to give her the pacifier and she's putting it out. No, I'm just kind of curious how how all of this training and how all these performances inform what are you interested in doing with it, especially as you get out of the military and retire. But then B, like that training is great training for life. My brother my brother is now, a public speaker, and he does a culture and leadership development and training for organizations, businesses, sports teams, individuals, you name it. And he did a lot of that in Los Angeles early because he thought that's what he wanted to be, was an actor. And then he ultimately decided he didn't want to be an actor. And as he got into this business, which he's been in for over 20 years now, he was like, oh, my training as an actor, going to class, learning, performing in front of people, learning the trade of improv, however, good or bad you are at it, doesn't particularly matter. But that kind of training informs your ability to have a conversation, to get up and speak, to be able to, stay on your feet and stay on your toes and be comfortable in situations where other people might not be as comfortable. So really just curious how that informs what you do on the podcast space and how you feel like it's just impacted your life.
It's impacted my life amazingly. So it's and I realized this in November of 2022 to kind of wrap it to tie all that stuff together. Is I actually was in a local play, and I'd never done theater before, and I had a lot of lines in that, and excuse me, a lot of lines, but we rehearsed for 3 months. I memorized that entire book. The play was called Harvey, but it made me a better listener and a better communicator, and just the ability of like impromptu. Because I would love to do public speaking. That I would hope to do more public speaking now, especially now that since I'm retiring. I want to do public speaking. I feel like I'm a passionate storyteller. I've done some storytelling and speeches on the military side that seem to have gone over really well. But yeah, in summary, it's made me a better listener, a better communicator, and it also made me realize that the quality of our lives depends so much on the questions that we ask. I don't think people put enough emphasis onto not just asking questions, but understanding how to ask questions and the timeliness of those questions. But that's that's the biggest thing. It's helped me with public speaking, impromptu, and actually just paying attention to what people are saying, listening and understanding, and applying that to better enhance the conversation.
Yeah, first rule of improv is yes.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
Yeah. I love it. I think it's great. I've done a little bit of acting myself, mainly just because, when I moved to Los Angeles out of film school, I was writing and directing and producing my own short films, and using actors out in LA. My roommate was an actor. We had all these friends that were actors, and then when I moved to New York. Did the same thing. Like I waited tables and tended bar with a bunch of Broadway people. Right. And so it was like, use them to act. And then we had this idea for a short film. My wife and I, it's kind of the first thing that she directed. And I was like, I don't know, why don't I just like give it a shot and like hop in and kind of see how it goes. Like, I helped you write this, like, the character is kind of loosely based on me. And I can link it out in the show notes so people can see it. It's kind of fun. It's not very good, but it's kind of fun. But I jumped in because I kind of needed to, right? Like as a production logistics kind of thing. I was like, oh, let me jump in and do this so we don't have to get somebody else to do it. And I'm not a great actor, but to your point, it made me understand the other side of the craft better. Like as a director, as a producer, as a screenwriter, if I don't know what it's like to perform, well, then I'm not going to be able to write, direct, and produce as well, right? Jumping in that person's shoes and understanding what it's like from their perspective just empowers me better on this side of the camera to be able to work with them, as we move forward through projects.
Yeah, no, that's it's just, and even like we talked, like it's helped me my career with podcasting, but it's also helped me in my personal life with my wife. So, which has improved my life as well, of course.
Listening,
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's chat. Like I said, I kind of want to jump around a little bit here. I want to come back to podcasting. I want to come back to kind of where, when, why, and how you started the podcast. But where are you now in your career in the military?
So right now, my career in the military, I had my retirement ceremony on May 8th. So next week, it'll be 4 months since I've had my retirement ceremony, which is crazy. And since May, I've been doing Skill Bridge, just internship. And but as of 1 September, I effectively started my terminal leave. So and November 1st, again, I'll be effectively retired from the United States Air Force after 23 years. So that's just where I'm at right now, just on terminal leave, just hanging out, doing podcast, and just trying to yeah, just and thinking about what's next. But really just trying to embrace the moment, embrace the time, just because after 23 years of being told what to do, where to go, everything, I've never, it's great just to have this freedom and just to be on my own schedule. I took a trip to Europe with my family this summer for 2 weeks, and it was just, I'm so glad I did that with my family. It's just so like in a headspace, it's what I needed for my mental clarity and then just for my soul. So what was the other part of that question? Sorry.
Well, it's funny. I want to get to terminal leave in a second, but it's funny because, you're a few years older than me. I was in 8th grade when 9/11 happened. So it sounds like you're about 5 years older than me.
I'm 43. Yeah.
43. Okay. So you're about 6 years older than me. Close math there. As an 18-year-old airman basic, I looked at a chief master sergeant and I was like, man, that guy's old. And now that I'm 37 years old and everybody that I enlisted with at 18 is getting ready to retire as a senior or a master or chief. And you and I are friends and we talk and I look at you, you don't look that much older than me. And you're not that much older than me. We have, we both have 2 kids. We're both married, right? There's like all these similar life experiences that we have. So it's always funny for me on the podcast when I have senior enlisted on. I'm like, oh man, I had this view of kind of who you are and what you are when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. And now I'm like 37, 43. That's not that old. There's actually plenty more that we can do from kind of here on out, right? So it's interesting. But what does it feel like to be retiring as a chief, and to put that much time in the military? You said it was a bit surreal, but try to explain it a little bit.
I didn't expect to make chief. My goal was just to make Master Sergeant E7, and then I made. In my background in the military is I'm an intelligence analyst, and a lot of people make rank in that career field very fast. For example, there's a lot of people who make E6 in like 6 or 7 years. I didn't put on E6. I didn't put on E5 until I'd been in for 6 years. And then I didn't put on E6 until I'd been in for 11. So, I mean, not bad, not behind the curve, but definitely like not ahead of anyone. And there was a lot of people who were E7 by 10 years. But I remember my goal was at that point. I remember telling myself at the 10-year point, because I was actually thinking about getting out, and then I ended up staying in. Obviously, I was like, my goal is just E7. I'll be happy if I make E7, and I made E7 around a 13 or 14-year mark, somewhere between that. And I thought, like, okay, that's good. I wouldn't be eligible for promotion again until at the 16-year mark. But I'm like, and usually it takes people 2 or 3 tries to make E8. I made it my first time, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I didn't receive any stratification or anything. I just made it off of hard work and just taking care of people. And then I was like, man, I'll never make chief. And same thing, man. I when I got picked up for chief, I couldn't believe it, just because, it's so funny. Like, and I try not to typically talk about my rank, like when I'm hosting a podcast, but for me personally, I've always felt like almost like an outcast in units too, just because I was different than a lot of people, especially in intel. And I definitely wasn't I don't feel like I was the one that was. There were other people that were kind of like what I called, they were sponsored. Like, the leadership constantly forced them down everyone's throat. That wasn't me. So for me, I felt like I did it my way. I was true, authentic, and organic to myself. So it felt so good just to be selected for Chief Master Sergeant. And then I felt like this gratitude and this sense of now, like, I can do for others that I wish someone would have done for me as I was coming up. So I've just really made that, mission from the time that I put on. But yeah, it's just crazy because I can remember when I was in tech school in 2003 meeting a senior master sergeant, and I was like, oh my God, I'll never achieve that rank. And now it's just like, it's no big deal. But yeah, I love it. And didn't expect to get here. Complete honor. But yeah, I had my ceremony, and it's just I don't know how to explain it, man. It's such a good feeling. But I think the best feeling was the fact that my retirement ceremony, I received closure. I've been to a lot of retirement ceremonies over the years, and I've been to ceremonies where no one was in attendance. There was 350 people at my retirement ceremony, and it's not like that stuff matters, the number, but it meant a lot to me, the fact that like people were there to support me and my family. But I felt loved, I felt honored. It's just it's just a good feeling. But now I'm just trying to think, how can I translate those skills into the next adventure in life? I don't know if that answers your question, man, but hopefully it did.
That's good. I can feel the weight. I can hear the emotion. I can feel it through the screen. It's really cool. I served for 4 years, and plenty. I had a great experience, but plenty of people don't have a great experience, and plenty of people don't leave on a good note. And it sounds like you are, which is great. It's great to hear. So, what has terminal leave been like for 3 days? And keep in mind, this episode's going to go live late tonight, so it'll go live this week. What's terminal leave been like so far?
It's fun. I actually shaved this morning because last night when he messaged me, I was like, I don't want to be not that I had a beard, but I don't think I look good with facial hair. But I don't shave every day now. I mean, I shave like every couple weeks or whatever the tempo is. But I did shave last night. But it was just weird. Like, I remember waking up on Monday, and I can't explain it. The best way I can describe it is it reminds me of my freshman year or like the summer after you graduate high school, because now, like, I mean, you're done with the required school system, and it's just like I felt like almost like I'm 18 or 19 years old again, where I have just the world is I can go anywhere, I can do anything. It's just whatever direction there's no other than my family. There's no obligation to anyone or anything. So it's just I tell you what, I felt refreshed. I felt really refreshed, and I think for anyone that's separated or that's retired, they can feel that. But I just a sense of relief, and I love my military career. And trust me, there were some bumps on the road too, man. I have whole stories I could talk for an hour about, some struggles I had or situations, but tough times in my career. But at the end of it, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I love it. But it's just, I can't believe I did that. 23 years, and I feel free. I feel free.
This is it, man. This is the mindset that people should have. Your life is not over now that you've served for 20 plus years in the military. It is just beginning. Yeah. Like, the foundation that you built in service, regardless if it's 4 or 25 or anywhere in between, the next great adventure is right now. The fact that you just said you feel like you're 18 or 19 years old again is awesome and incredible, because that is what you should feel like. There are so many senior enlisted and so many senior officers that get out and they feel the opposite of how you feel, and they don't know what to do. And then they lean into not knowing what to do. And it becomes this vicious cycle of, I don't know what I'm going to do now, and therefore my life is over. And they don't even look at their family as positively as you just did, where that is the obligation, that everything else is freedom. They actually look at it the other way, where it's like it's obligation and then there's no freedom. So I love that you said that, and I want to hear, where does that mindset come from for you? Is that something you've worked on? Yeah. Is that something you've thought about over the course of the last couple of years as you prepare to retire? Or is that something that comes naturally to you?
I think all of the above. So I think one thing I've been able to, I've done some dumb things in my life, but I feel like I've been pretty good at making smart decisions that lead me down better paths. Like I talked about when I waited tables. I was 17 or 18 when I was waiting tables. There's a lot of guys in their 20s and their 30s. Not that there's anything wrong with waiting tables. I think, it's a great skill to have. But I can remember seeing guys that they were doing drugs or drinking all the time, and like they had no direction or aim in life. And I can remember even, when I was that young thinking, if I stay in this town in Oklahoma or stay in this type of job, that's my pinnacle. Like I can look at different people or different careers and saying like, if I go down this path, I can envision what that pinnacle is for me. Do I want that? Is that really what my end goal is? But the mindset, I remember in 2019, in 2019, and then earlier this year, two separate stories. In 2019, I remember meeting a chief, and we were off base, out of uniform, and I introduced him to my wife, and they introduced themselves by their rank to my wife. And this is off base, and I'm a senior master sergeant, but that's like, I mean, like if you came up to, like if I was meeting I've never, if I met your wife, I wouldn't say, hey, I'm, Chief Martin Foster, right? It's just, but it's just like, that's what they led with. That's who they were. And I've followed, this person has since retired. And even now, I've seen them on LinkedIn and stuff. They still have their rank. And that's their identity. And I think there's nothing wrong with having that, but it shouldn't be part of your identity. We should be proud of our service and the things that we achieved. But like for you, if I'm like I brag about you, Carrie, whether you realize it or not, right? And as a matter of fact, I talked to Jen and Carlton maybe like a month ago when we were talking good gossip behind your back. But if I were to introduce you, or if I were to describe you to someone, like, oh man, you got to check out my friend Carrie. I mean, I would definitely say you're an Air Force veteran, but it would probably be like the fifth thing that I said. Like he's a podcaster, he's a director, right? He's an Ohio State fan. There'd be other things. That's how it should be. I want to be known more than just a chief. There was a retirement ceremony I went to earlier this year where there was maybe 30 people in attendance, and it was for a command chief, and I'm just like, eesh, right? But what led me, and then go ahead.
It's a weird. I'm so glad you said all of that. Because it is a weird thing. So you've probably heard me talk about this. When I started the podcast, I started for the reasons I said earlier in the episode. And my wife gave me, our relationship is, we're teammates. Like that's the way that we look at each other, is we're teammates, right? So we treat each other individually as well as a part of the unit, right? So like our family is the unit, and so that comes first, but then each of us individually has our needs, right? And so we do our best to know and see and understand what each individual's needs are, but as it contributes to the unit. And so she told me, she said, hey, podcast sounds like a cool idea. I know that it's something that you probably like need to do to kind of figure out like where your service fits and informs who you are and kind of what you're doing now. And I had been out for 11 years. And so I kind of just got that next wave of like, what does it mean to be a veteran? And so she's like, I know that you need that. It's also a pretty cool business opportunity, right? To like network and connect with other people that work in the industry. It's a great way to, it's like from a podcasting perspective, if you tell Kurt Warner, I'm a veteran, I want to have you on my podcast, he's gonna be like, oh yeah, I'll do something for veterans, right? Like it's smart tactically. But then she gave me the best piece of advice. And she said, do not make this your identity. Your identity is not as a veteran. You are not a veteran only. That's not the only part of your identity. And it should not be the most important part of your identity. It should be an important part, but not the most important part. And so that's like one of my North Stars. That's like one of my guiding. I've got her on my shoulder kind of at all times being like, hey, don't lean too much into this, right? I've got a great friend, Keith Dow, who runs Dead Reckoning Collective. And we always joke, like he says it publicly and posts about it a lot. Like the worst thing that you can say is, as a veteran, ... like whatever it is that you want to say. It's like, no, don't do that. Understand what about your service informs who you are and what you do. And more importantly, I would argue, understand what it doesn't inform about you.
Yeah. And I want to share just 2 more quick stories. And then separately, there was another chief who I introduced myself. His name is Mike Klutz. And he said, this really stuck with me in a good way. Same thing, 2017, 2018. Our kids went to the same school. He was in uniform. I introduced him to my wife. I said, hey, I told my wife, like, hey, this is Chief Klutz. And he stopped me. And he told my wife, he's like, I'm so much more than that. He said, my name is Mike. I'm a husband. I'm a father. And whatever he said his hobby was, I forgot. And that stuck with me because I was like, that was such a great example, just that small thing. And then earlier this year, I went to. Did you ever go to Tap Carry? I forget if we've talked about that. Was that a thing when you were?
Did I go to Tap?
Yeah, was that a thing when you were in or no?
I mean, yeah, but I was 22 years old, getting off of 2 deployments in England. I didn't pay attention to shit.
My point with that is, right. So I went to a Tap earlier this year, and it was off base, all civilian clothes, everything. We were told to write our names on our placard or whatever. The instructor said, hey, I want everyone to write their first name. There was a colonel in 06 that wrote their rank on this. And then there's like 40 people in this class. We're all doing intros, 20-second intros. Hey, my name's Kerry Kite. I'm from and it was I'm originally from Columbus, but I'm looking to make my home here in Dayton. And I'm transitioning because I want to be I want to go to film school or whatever, be a director, right? Whatever. Hey, my name is Mark Foster. I'm originally from Oklahoma. Dayton's going to be my home, and I'm looking to get more into podcasting and public speaking. Bam, right? Or, and I was an Intel analyst as my background. Everyone does the same thing. This guy gets up and he says, hey, my name's Colonel so-and-so. And then he gives he runs down his entire career. So it's just, anyway, I just, that stuck with me.
It's for officers. It's kind of like once they hit that full bird, it's like it kind of just becomes that thing. For senior enlisted, I don't know if it's senior or if it's chief, but it just kind of becomes that weird thing. But it's easy to make fun of, and we should make fun of it because I do think that shame is a good motivator. It's not the only motivator, and it's not the most important motivator, but we should make fun of it kind of where and when we can. But we should also see that a lot of times these are people who don't have anything else.
Yeah.
They don't have hobbies and interests. They have spent the last 20 plus years serving their country, which is honorable and valuable, but they didn't do anything else. They didn't get themselves interested in anything else. They didn't pursue anything else. Not that you have to be going to improv classes and showing up on Hawaii 5-0 while you're enlisted, but you should be thinking about not just what do I want to do professionally when I get out of the military, but who am I right now and who do I want to be? Like what did these experiences, what did these skills, what do they afford me the opportunity to continue to be or to become if it's going to be something different? And so on the one hand, it's very funny. On the other hand, it's very sad when I hear those stories that you're telling.
And I do feel bad for those people as well, because I think about those are the people that are struggling when we talk about veteran suicide or loss of identity, just because, and actually I the other day I went back and before you even texted me yesterday, I went back and rewatched our episode from last year, because I'm going to post some more clips from our time together. And there's a part in there where you talked about, the Air Force or the DOD does a great job of training us to be in the military. But there's still room to go on. They don't teach us really how to transition out of the military or how to be a civilian. And I think that's where people struggle, is just that, so it's just the importance of having.
Well,
go ahead.
This is the tricky thing. It's not on the DOD, and I don't think it should be on the DOD.
Exactly. Yeah.
It should be on ourselves and each other. Like we talk about the brotherhood. I'm watching I don't know if you're watching Terminalist, Dark Wolf. Obviously, I wasn't a SEAL. You weren't a SEAL, but like the idea of the brotherhood and the sisterhood and the camaraderie, translates across branch and across MOS. But we have that in the military, and then all of a sudden we just like let go of it and don't use it anymore for the next thing that we need, or we think only about this community and not the community that we're integrating into, whether that's improv classes or whether that's public speaking classes or whether that's the podcasting community at large. Like you do a great job of having a wide range of guests that aren't just in the military on the podcast, right? Which I'm actually going to start trying to do more of myself, because we can't focus only on this community. We actually have to integrate into these other communities. And that empowerment that the DoD doesn't give us, that I believe they shouldn't give us, actually should come from other human beings, like heart to heart, mind to mind, that community that we need to build for ourselves and each other.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, so like well said. And I'm actually going to be speaking at MIC, at the Military Influencer Conference, in a couple weeks. I'll be doing a roundtable, and the name is Transitioning Truths, and it's just talking about the veteran transition. And I think for me specifically, it's a unique perspective because I'll be on terminal leave, obviously, when I'm giving this brief, so I'm actually living the transition process. And yeah, so I'm excited just to kind of share my thoughts, and I've been putting together just all the different things that I've been experiencing. And I made the decision to retire. I hit the button on 1 November of last year, but I made the decision to retire in August of last year. So I've had a little over a year just to kind of think about this. And as my wife likes to say, like it's a roller coaster. Pick a day, pick an emotion. We're experiencing them all. But I'm translating that into my talk at MIG.
Yeah, tease us a little bit. What are some of the truths that you're who's on the panel with you, and what are some of the truths that you're gonna be talking about?
So for this one specifically, the format's a round table. So I don't know the exact layout, but I think what I envision is it's just gonna be kind of it'll be in whatever conference room or whatever, or convention hall, and I'll just have a booth next to like 40 other people, and then and there'll be like a certain amount of seats at for each person at their respective round table. But I just want to talk about more than just the checklist of like, hey, make sure you update your LinkedIn, or make sure you do your resume, or get all your VA stuff. I mean, I'll talk about that stuff, but just and I'm still struggling. I'm still figuring this out myself, but I want to also mainly focus on the mental aspect of it and the emotional aspect, especially when you've served over 20 years. Or, and it's just, so I just want to tie that in. These are things that over the past year that I've done that have helped me. And even though I'm still going through this, but here's some other things I wish I would have done 6 months ago, or even a year ago when I first made the decision to retire. But I think what I love seeing, and not just in the veteran space, but just across all media is like the way that, especially for men, being able to talk about their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, and be applauded for it versus ridiculed or looked upon as less than. So I'm just excited just to share my thoughts. During my retirement speech, I shared something that I wrote down. 2019 was one of the hardest years of my life, like hands down. And I wrote down. So I'm a writer. I journal, and this is something I'm going to talk about at that make brief. I wrote down specifically, and I shared at my retirement speech, is I opened up my speech with how do you catch a falling star? How do you fix a broken heart that's been shattered into a million pieces? How do you move forward when you don't feel like you're living, but only merely existing? And for me, the answer is through connection. So it's just and that's what I'm going to tie in or give people tips on, is how do you find that connection?
I love it. Well, I will not be at MIC this year, unfortunately, but I'm excited to hear how it goes. Let's wrap things up and talk a little bit about passing the torch. What was the genesis of you starting the podcast? What's it been like over the last several years now, I guess, at this point? And what are you looking to do with it now?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So, my first half of my career, I was definitely like not on a good path, and I felt let down by so many leaders and supervisors. And like just a couple quick stories. I remember my stepdad died in 2010, and I went to my flight chief in E7 and my first sergeant, and my mom had been diagnosed with cancer around the same time. I said, hey, what can I do to get assignment closer to home? They completely brushed me off, right? I'll never forget how horrible I felt in that moment. And then just over the next couple, like there was basically a 7-year rough patch in my career back to, which I can't believe I went through it now looking back. But during those 7 years, there was like, I was, I don't think mentorship really became like a good word until like 10 years ago. But so really up until that point, I didn't really know like what a mentor was or what I was looking for. But there'd be some bright spots where I had amazing conversations with people in the hallways or whatever. And I'm like, and then in the ensuing years, I'm like, man, I wish I could have listened to that conversation again, or I wish I would have wrote down notes or something. So that's kind of like where the inkling started. I'm also a massive sports fan, huge sports buff. So in 2014, I started a sports podcast, and I was able to get some pretty big name guests to do sports, but I ended up stopping that podcast because it was too hard to keep up with. But I still always had that itch, and I really, around 2015, man, I really started getting into like just reading more development books and just learning about I wanted to better myself and started listening. I'd been listening to podcasts, but I started diving in more. And then I started thinking about all the great conversations that I had with people. And I would email past supervisors that did have a good impact on me. And same thing, people would reach out to me like, hey, Sergeant Foster, like I love, I need some advice. And this is all over email. So then I started just thinking, like, man, how could I eventually turn this into a podcast, which is what I did. So December 31st, 2017, I was at a New Year's Eve party. And that was my resolution. I said, I'm going to start a podcast that focuses on leadership, character development, and resilience. A week later, I did my first episode with General John Jumper. He was the 17th Air Force Chief of Staff. I didn't even have a name for my podcast. I just started it. So if you go back and listen to that episode, it's pretty rough. And that's what just kept it going. And I felt like podcasting served as a tool. It served me something I felt like I was lacking and missing and couldn't find anywhere locally. So it was I realized it was mentorship on demand. It was a slice of life, a slice of that special moment in time that you can go back and listen to on repeat. So I started my podcast in January of 2018. Tomorrow, September 4th, I'm actually going to publish my 92nd episode with Ed Lattimore. But just to kind of fast forward some things, so I started it in January 18. Between January of 18 and I think of maybe December of 2021, I did, I think 17 episodes in those first 4 years. In 2022, I did 8 episodes. But in 2023, that's really when I started turning it up a notch. I did 19 episodes in 2023. And then 2024, the past 2 years have just been, that's really what I consider when I turned pro, when I really started doubling down. And I still have a lot more room to grow, but I've really started just putting more emphasis and just being more intentional and being more serious about it. But this year alone, I think I've done 25 episodes, and I have like another 10 more that I'm planning to do. But yeah, I want to turn this into something. I stand on business. I firmly believe in the power of podcasting. And I'll be honest, I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but I personally have spent probably close to $40,000 of my own personal money since the inception of my podcast. That's on equipment, that's on traveling, that's on pacing, that's on all the hosting fees and everything we have to have for podcasting and all that. All the subscriptions. I've made $0. I do want to start making some money from podcasting, but it's only because it helps me being able to finance, be able to tell more stories. But again, I believe in podcasting. I love it. It fuels me. I will stay up till 2:00 in the morning a lot of nights, researching how to ask better questions, watching other podcasts, just how to be a better communicator. So moving forward, I want to turn this into a full-time thing. I need people's help. So if you want to help me, just please, follow me and, or, shoot me a message. But yeah, man, I believe in it. And I feel like I'm able to help people. I feel like it's something I'm good at, and it helps me better serve people. And I just want to serve people with this podcast. Was that a good answer? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Yeah, you're very good at it. You ask great questions. And like I said, it's open. Your cadence of asking questions is great. The depth of them is great. More than any other podcast, I hear your guests say, "Oh, wow, that's a great question. I'm not even prepared to answer that." And so then you end up getting just some really great off the cuff, heart level answers from people, which is a skill. So that's great.
No, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. I think we pretty much covered everything. I'm going to wrap things up here. So yeah, anything you want to plug to the podcast? Where can folks find you? You're going to be at MIC. What are the dates for that? Anything else we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. So one is I hope to do another episode with you for my podcast, Passing the Torch, definitely in person. And I'm planning to rent out a studio, and I wanted, we talked about this, I'm excited because I got some more good questions. I got some more conversation, good topics for you.
Cool.
And then I'll be at the Military Influencer Conference. It's 21 through 25 September in Atlanta. I would tell anyone, to me, I think it's last year was my first year attending, but I felt like it was a must if you're in the veteran space, and you don't have to have a podcast. If you're just looking to connect with other veterans, I can't recommend Military Influencer Conference enough. So again, it's in Atlanta this year, 21 through 25 September. For anyone that wants to support my podcast, I'm trying to grow on Instagram. So if you want to follow Torch Martin on Instagram, that would be awesome. Trying to grow my LinkedIn. So again, just look for Martin Foster. And lastly, just, follow me. I'm putting out the videos of my podcast episodes on YouTube, just passing the torch with Martin Foster. So just subscribe on YouTube, and that would be a big help. And again, man, I love podcasting. It's, man, I'm helping other people share their stories, and I just want to do just that.
I love it, brother. Well, yeah, we will post on all those platforms, collaborate on all those platforms, and do what we can to help drive some traffic, break a leg at MIC. I'm excited to hear more about it, how it goes. And yeah, man, whenever you want to come up to Columbus, we'll do that in-person podcast.
Yeah, man. And I either want to have breakfast at Bob Evans, because I feel like that's a very Ohioan thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Or like we need to have lunch at Roosters or something, man. That's got to be. Yeah.
We can hit all the Ohio restaurants. You got to have Columbus pizza, man. All right, you guys have great pizza in Dayton, but Columbus has some phenomenal pizza places.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, 100%. I'll be down for that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, rock on, brother. All right, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your friendship. We'll chat soon.
All right, man. Later.